Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How's it
Very
going?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's a unique way of getting to know each other.
I know. Very unique. I just got my tea because why not?
Why not?
I can
Do you think it'll
hold it.
fit?
I don't think so.
I know.
I just hold it.
You sure?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Just buckle in first, though.
Sorry.
Let me hang on to this.
Thank you.
I wish I had asked you.
Did you make a tea? Oh my god, you want one?
नहीं I can't drive. नहीं
We can just keep driving around here.
वो तो हम कर सकते हैं, but
pick
नहीं
it
नहीं
up.
नहीं I can't drive and drink hot tea. I don't want to
No?
risk that.
Okay. I can also share. I'm really chill about these things.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, nice, but
The mic?
that's it.
Really fancy, dude.
Thank you.
It's really fun.
It
Really
is.
cool. Yeah. We already started.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
great.
rolling.
We're rolling.
Camera
Cool.
is rolling.
Cool. I saw a little bit of Mehrub's show just to be like, what am I getting into? What's gonna happen?
And
No, it was very fun. I just saw like 20 minutes and then my I got a call that my apartment got flooded.
oh
Not a lot, but still.
damn.
As it
क्या कोई
happens in
खिड़की खुली
Karachi.
खिड़की
No,
खुली
we live
छोड़
on the first floor and then so it's a 4-story
अच्छा
building.
like
So the stairs, like all the water that was coming down,
Mm.
it eventually landed in our apartment.
I don't know. I assumed के apartment है, you're on the some of the
No,
floor
we're on the
and
first
the
floor, which is
window
really
front.
convenient for every
Right,
other thing,
right.
but not for
Ouch.
rain season in
Damn,
Karachi.
damn.
Have you ever lived in Karachi?
I was born in Karachi.
You're from Karachi?
I lived there till I was like 8.
Nah.
But my family, like my dad, was from Lahore, so eventually we moved back to Lahore.
Well, how old were you?
At 8 we moved from Karachi to Germany
Right.
for a while, like 4 years, because my dad was in the airline, so he got posted there.
I've always been so jealous of kids whose dads are in airlines because you used to get tickets, I'm sure.
Yes.
Oh my god. So, do you still get it?
Nahi.
Because he's retired.
And he's dead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, other than that, you don't after a certain age.
After a certain age, you don't?
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't qualify. That's only
No.
for like dependents.
I would take it for 1 year, man. Like,
वही ना जब दिल चाह रहा था ना तो वो that was way past our age.
when
when
you
we
had
wanted to,
places go,
come on,
actually,
let me go
right.
alone type. नहीं, I think PIA is also smart like that. They're like नहीं, माँ बाप के साथ. शुगल के लिए नहीं है ये.
And PI also like doesn't really fly.
One
Like to the places that often that one wants to go to.
yeah पहले तो होता था.
पहले होता था ना.
So I mean, even now I think I'm sure their destinations have increased. It's just that nobody wants to fly PIA anymore. That is the thing.
Locally, I would prefer PIA over.
Really?
I don't know. It keeps changing.
I know,
It
है ना?
keeps changing.
हर कोई कहता है नहीं. Now it's Shaheen. नहीं अब नहीं. Air
Shaheen
Blue.
doesn't work. Shaheen,
Aabroo.
Air These days I've been flying a lot of Air because it's the cheapest, so everybody gets tickets for Air I think.
I haven't traveled in locally भी I don't know when. That's why मैं अभी दिमाग में Shaheen ही फंसा हुआ है. But there were only a few options, right? So.
Sana. I was like, Sana, if we get bored, we'll pick you up on our way. Do you know Sana?
Who's that?
Sana Jafri.
Oh, I've only seen her in your.
Yeah. I was like, if I'm being boring, I'll be like, Sana is being far more interesting. We'll just pick her up. And like, I think I've also like given way too many. This is a fun interview, but like unfun interviews. So then you start like saying the same thing.
I know.
Because it's like programmed in you, and you're like, oh yeah.
अब इसका जवाब ये देना है.
Like, okay, this is like it's a very like all the interviews are the same.
Scripted.
Like, I don't wanna bore her or anyone who may watch.
Or
this.
myself.
Yeah, so I'm like, we'll pick you up. She lives close by.
Does she live around here?
She lives in phase 4.
Okay.
If you want to, we can totally do that.
उसके लिए एक अलग सेशन मैंने सोचा हुआ है.
तो बस I'll just tell her, Sana, she'll.
Don't keep her on standby. I want to talk to her
she was
separately.
like, let me know क्या scene है. Bro, she's saying she's gonna like do a separate thing with you. So chill out. No worries. What's happening?
Now tell me, like, this is like us stuck at a party, but in a different way, where we are
A peaceful
wallflowers,
party, which is
and you are stuck with me, and you have to talk to me.
I can talk. I can talk.
So tell me
I'm
about
pretty
yourself.
chatty.
Where are you from? Who are you? Because
Who am
एकदम से
I?
साइम सादिक का मैंने सुना था when you did Darling.
Right.
And suddenly I heard of you, saw you, read about you, only in reference to the film.
Right.
But I did not do any research. मैंने कहा नहीं इस बंदे से मैंने मिलना है. तो मैंने नहीं कहीं पढ़ा, कुछ नहीं ढूंढा ताकि आप मुझे अपनी ज़बानी बताएं. Who are you? Where are you from?
I mean, that's the thing about being a filmmaker. I think one is not supposed to know about me because there's not, that much to know. Like, it's through the films that you are known, and if your films are good enough, people will know you in a nice way. If they're not good, they will not know you in a nice way. But very standard
Are you from
army
Lahore?
kid upbringing. Born in Lahore, but lived literally all across the country. Like from Nawab Shah to Skardu to Abbottabad to Quetta to Pindi.
Zabardast.
So,
And these were like how many months or years?
like a year each, I think.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. In Lahore, of course, a lot. Then went to Lums.
What?
Yeah.
And studied?
Anthropology.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I wasn't really studying anything, to be honest, in Lums. I was just like trying to pass, which I did because I was not that. I mean, I was interested in
Were
anthropology.
you using their library for doing research on filmmaking? What were
No,
you
I was
doing?
doing nothing.
अच्छा,
That's the
उस वक्त
truth.
तक कुछ भी नहीं था.
No, I knew that I was very interested, and I used to write.
अच्छा.
I just would write stories and stuff.
Oh.
So, short stories, because I really didn't put two and two together that I could actually make films, but I was always interested in fiction, and I was always interested in watching films and like knowing about films or reading about films. So I was like an obsessive,
Right.
like cinephile in a way.
Oh.
Since I was a kid, like since I was like 3 years old, honestly, 4 years old, like the only obsession I ever had was movies.
Okay.
But I never thought that would be something that I turn into a career for myself. Because, look around you. Now, of course, I hope that kids who are like in their early 20s or late teens, like I was at that point in time, they can still, you'll be like, no, it's a real career, it's a profession, we can pursue it.
Right.
But earlier on, when it was like,
it was out of reach.
2011, 12,
Yeah.
it was like, it was not something that was ever going to make you money even.
Right.
But eventually I did, pick up the camera and started like taking pictures and making like videos and stuff just for myself, honestly. And
while at Lums?
While at Lums. And then I did a documentary short as my thesis project.
Okay.
Which was about Joseph Colony.
Okay.
Which was burnt, the Christian colony that was burnt over like blasphemy charges. And that, I'm not saying it was like great or anything, but that kind of like just doing that gave me a lot of confidence in even though it was documentary. I like knew that this is what I like to do. This is where I enjoy. This is the kind of work that doesn't feel like work to me at all. Like I enjoy it so much.
But had you ever had any experience of any other work that felt like work?
No, I never went close to it actually because
but just the ideas were kind of not attracting and not appealing. Like मैंने कहीं job करनी है, मैंने किसी right?
Weirdly enough, because I remember it was the end of the third year and the summer break was happening, and everybody in Lums was applying for internships.
Right. And
I don't know what like balls I had to say like I'm not going to do an internship at Aabroo or PNG or any this fertilizer company or that PepsiCo. Like I'm just not going to do it. I don't know why. I had zero life plans, and I had zero.
And this is age.
This is age 20, 21. Yeah, like end of junior year in Lums. Nice. And all of my friends had an internship and really good ones,
Right.
I never even applied.
Yeah.
And it was just like some weird serious cockiness that I don't know came out of where. But
I'm guilty of that. Kids, when Mehrub and I were doing our masters in public administration, which we did not want to be, पढ़ना तो था ही नहीं. It was just us doing something because our parents said masters जरूर करना है. Fine, doctor नहीं बने, ये जरूर करना है. So वो हमारी basic degree थी, right? So when people were doing internships, I'll edit this out. We actually faked a document. And we asked this uncle of ours, some family friend, कि please आप एक जाली certificate बना दें कि हाँ हमने internship की थी. और उस दौरान we were just doing our experimental makeup and photography, and we're like, this is what
because that's something that you always wanted to do.
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it just happens. I think somewhere you have to. I think you have to be a certain level of
crazy
and foolish and naive, and then hope that you are also lucky enough that that naivete and will never bite you back in the ass, because it could very well have.
Yeah. How did your parents react though? Because when was there anybody else in the creative field or
no? My family is so.
I mean, your dad's
square.
in the army, of course.
Straight laced, super square. Like my sister's an engineer. Her husband's an engineer. They met in an engineering college. And she's my only sibling, so that's the comparison.
The mold.
And, yeah, and and she was always like a topper. She was a very like a brilliant child.
Oh my God, I can just hear the comparison.
I know, and she would, I don't know, like just set the bar very, very high always, and I was just not interested in meeting that bar in any which way,
right.
In this fare that I was being offered.
Right.
So but surprisingly, my parents were very chill. So I did the documentary shot, and then I told my dad that my dad and my mom, that I wanna go for my masters and I wanna do it in film. Because I thought that if you just give it a spin of education, they'll probably understand it better. That if you just say कि films बनानी है, then it sounds like what? I'm like no. पढ़ना है films कैसे बनाते हैं and then बनानी है. So that I think
that helped.
Yeah, and then I got into Columbia. So kid parents in Pakistan are like big on like Ivy League, and they, like, it doesn't even matter what you're studying in. And Ivy League is like,
it's a university
that they can tell their friends what you're doing. They're chill. And they're like, they can be proud of you for something for a couple of years. So that really helped me. And then I went to Columbia. I assisted Sarmad for a year, Sarmad Kusat.
When, like during?
No, like right after LUMS. Right after LUMS and before Columbia. So there was a year that I had in the middle where I worked as an AD for Sarmad.
And so how'd you hunt that down for yourself?
So Auntie Simi Raheel was somebody that I knew of because I'd done one of my little like short films during LUMS with her.
Okay.
And Simi Auntie said that, I want to make you meet Sarmad. And I was like, yeah, I would love to, because like he was one of the few directors that I thought I could actually, he would have something to teach,
Right.
And I also knew that my parents were like fans of his television work that he was doing at that point in time.
So credible age.
So like again, like I would be something that kind of helps me transition with my family on board, like with my family being supportive as well.
Right. Because you don't want to have that around you, that energy, na? कि उनको भी बनाना है, or you're already trying to take on the world.
Yeah, so like you're trying to do something new, and then plus if you're also hiding it or like fighting about it at home, I mean a lot of people have to do that. I've had to do that at some other small ways, but with this it did become a huge support actually, to be honest. Right. So I did that, then I went to Columbia, and then Darling was my thesis film, and then Joyland is my first feature film.
Any award pe award back to back ही है मेरे नज़दीक, because it's 2019 and then 2 years later, because I'm sure, how long was the whole production for Joyland?
The production, like we were shooting for 40 days.
But like when did that whole process start? Like the pre-production, the whole.
So see, I had been writing the script for many years, and we were like looking for money.
Many years का क्या मतलब है?
Many years, actually. I mean, like from like the first idea was 7 years ago.
And this is pre-Darling.
This is while I was this was pre-Darling.
So is Darling like a part of or a prequel to?
So not really, because Darling at that point in time, the only thing that was like similar was that there was a theater world in both of them. But then when I made Darling, then I really understood what I wanted to do with this film, so it became like this wholly other thing. So it almost was like I wrote like this like from scratch one more time, even though I'd done a bunch of drafts of the script before as well. So then Joyland kind of came out of Darling in a way, and that was again 3 years ago. Darling, of course, was like it won in 2019, but it was made in 2018.
Right.
So I had already written a draft of Joyland before Darling had premiered at Venice and won. So I knew.
Right. So the next project was already in the pipeline, in your head.
Yeah, because and then the next three and a half years was just like spent in like me writing the script over and over, like just trying to make it more close to what I wanted to say and what I wanted to do. And Apurva, my producer, and Sarmad, and like Sana, everybody kind of slowly came on board and got the money, got the logistics in order. I think we started actual pre-production in July of last year, 2021.
What?
We started
that's
pre-production.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, we started. It's been a year since actually we started pre-production. It was 25th of July or something, actually, if I remember correctly, because 24th of September was the first day of shoot.
Okay.
And we shot for 40 days with some weekends off and all, and then we finished in November.
That is quite
very quick. It was a very quick timeline.
Right?
Well, it happened to be a very quick timeline because if we didn't get into Cannes, we
right, you'd have missed it.
But we weren't ready entirely when we got into Cannes. We still had to finish some of the edit, and had to do all the sound and color properly. So we still had like 3 months of work left, which we had to cram into 6 weeks because we wanted to make the deadline. I actually wanted to prepare there. But yeah, it just. Things happen, there's some kind of energy that was with this project that was good.
That kept making it go further
and further. It really was like,
right?
we kept saying,
it was propelling you.
Yeah, it was something like, I'm not the most spiritual person in the world, but there was a spiritual energy behind this kind of project because it's a first film.
Right.
It's not a super commercial film.
Right.
Just the way it got made and the people who eventually came together to make it, who were also collectively on the same page. And so excited about it. It's very rare that happens, that actors are so giving, that the producers are so invested, that down to the crew, like your ADs treat it like, it's their life. That, I think that luck was something that I don't think I can take credit for. It was just meant to be.
You feel that the whole crew, the whole team, everybody kind of made it achieve its, success? Right?
Absolutely. I can't think of one key person changing and the film would have, if
results
Kaval was not the production designer of the film, you know what I mean? It would just have looked different.
Right.
There were so many crazy things that I would ask for on the day of the shoot. Suddenly, I changed my mind. It's not this, it's this. And you need a person who's like, okay, give me an hour, I'll bring it.
Right.
So you need, and that we had a lot of those people,
And did you have a lot of those moments where you were on the day either changing something or the other, either in the script or improv or the set or something?
Yeah.
And that was all coming from you, right?
Yes.
ये मैंने लिखा था, but I want something else.
True. Yeah. I mean, not a lot of those moments, but we always knew coming in, I always knew that, okay, because we had done a couple of weeks of workshops with all the actors. So we knew that these are scenes which we know we're going to go and we're going to just, wing it out. And these are scenes which, not because we don't like what's there, but because we think there's more to explore. And changes wouldn't really necessarily be a lot in terms of production design.
Right.
It would mostly be, we decided to shoot it this way, but sometimes we would change it. But most of the changes were with the actors.
Right.
That, no, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to come from this other angle.
So blocking
or motivation, which would change a lot in terms of what's really happening in the in the scene emotionally.
Right.
And dialogues, of course, were always being improvised a lot.
Really?
A lot.
So were you letting the actors improvise, or were you thinking that you've written it, right?
Yes.
So now, did you change the dialogue or the script yourself?
Both. It would be both.
It would be both. So
both.
You'd allow their input.
Yeah. Sometimes I would be like, okay, here I need you guys to, if you feel like the flow is taking you somewhere, let's see it. And then we would do another take, and then I would come in and I would be like, okay, keep this, but don't keep this. Don't go here. And then, because I do a lot of takes, a lot of takes, which is in our industry, weirdly enough, people look at it as a sign of a bad director. That, you do a lot of takes means you don't know what you're doing.
And you don't know what you want.
You don't know what you want. I'm like, I know exactly what I want, but it takes a while to get there because कि नहीं वो हम तो पहले उसमें ही करते हैं. There's a lot of that which I had to because the crew was working with the first time director, so they would look at me sometimes and be like, do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, give me some time, I'm trying.
Right.
So
now is that like a feeling? I mean, I know एक moment होता है, there's this magic moment, where a shot is, or between you and the actor or the actor in the script and how they're acting,
yeah,
वो बिल्कुल perfect हो जाता है. एक moment पे आता है कि आपको feel होता है that's it, that's my shot. And do you wait for that and that's why you keep doing the takes? Yeah, because there is a lot of pressure when there's senior actors, when the whole team and you're working against the clock on a set.
The clock is the pressure.
Right.
I didn't take any pressure of senior actors.
Okay.
I was like, no, because I made good enough friends with them for them to know, and they were all, because they were actual actors, like they actually liked and knew how to act.
Right.
So they knew that it's not even sometimes about getting the perfect take. It's about, we can do more. We scheduled the scene for like 3 hours. Now 2 hours later we have the shots that we needed.
Right.
But एक उतना मजा नहीं आ रहा, और अगर आ भी रहा है तो फिर भी we have an hour, we can explore things. Like we can see, what if she says this line in a different way, what happens?
Right.
You know, how does the other actor respond to it impulsively? We can see, we can explore those things, because the different thing was that there are very few scenes with single actors. It's an ensemble film, so there are a lot of scenes with like at least 3 actors, sometimes 7 actors. So one would get it right and the other wouldn't get it right, you know, and then one, you would correct that, and then the previous one would get. So it was, especially I remember there's a scene in the climax which was a big scene with Sarwat, Ali, Junejo and Suhail Sameer, which was like, it became, and everybody I knew on set was kind of getting a little impatient. It was one of the few days, because it was really like and it was a very dramatic scene.
Okay.
So they all had to,
like, intense.
Yeah, very intense. And they all had to give their best in the same take, you know, and it was like, it took a lot.
And each time together.
Yeah, so every time, the problem was that every time one would do really well, the other would slack, and then, you know, so it took us like, I don't know, 25, 26 takes to get like 2 takes where I was like, okay, all 3 of them are great in this take, now we can go home. So that sort of thing, I did it quite shamelessly eventually.
Did you make him take a break at time? You know, we can't.
Yeah.
Right?
In the middle, it was getting stagnated, and it was like they were all getting up in their head and getting a little agitated that kyun nahi ho raha humse, ya usse kyun nahi ho raha, etc. So we took a break in the middle, 15 minutes, then we took another break. But it was like, eventually I knew everybody around me, like not everybody, but like, you know, was like, ye nahi hoga, you know, like this kind of. I remember somebody telling me that this kind of acting that you're asking them to do, all of them, it's like, you know, like overlapping and, you know, like all of that stuff, like that kind of
like the dialogues overlapping.
A lot of dialogues overlapping, and you know, all 3 of them are allowed to improv. So, you know, if they improv, he has to pick up, she has to pick it up. Like, mere dimag mein Marriage Story comes to mind. Right, so that kind of thing. So it takes time to do that.
Right.
To do that well, you know.
And also, all of this, I'm sure you spent some time rehearsing, or they spent.
We did. This one scene we didn't. Because we knew that we can't rehearse this. Like, it was the kind of scene where I was like, okay, we can only get into it once. Because it's too stressful and it's too demanding, like, you know, and if you do it once, you will come and try to replicate it, and that's not going to happen. Like, it has to be, something will happen in the moment, and we'll be able to capture it, hopefully, and that's how it's going to be. That's like, as a gut feeling, I knew that. So we didn't rehearse like the very dramatic scenes. We never rehearsed in that sense. We would block them out, but I would never make them be like a बिल्कुल करके फिर आके shoot वाले दिन copy paste कर देना, like that we wouldn't do. Because it was, it's weird, because then the honesty is not there, you know, in a certain way, you know. No matter how good the actor is, somehow the honesty is gone a little bit, because they're not really feeling it. They're trying to replicate what they did in the rehearsal.
Right.
So our rehearsals were looser. They were like building relationships and stuff within the actors and the characters, and you know, sort of giving them a ground to then go on set and flow from there.
Have that chemistry together on set. Acha. And what about the fact that your stories are, I wouldn't say dangerous, or should I say dangerous?
I don't think they're dangerous.
They're certainly controversial. Because, I mean, you know, we're not as well, एक तो well informed भी नहीं है, और tolerant भी नहीं है as a society. But in general, like, both of your stories, from what I've heard, अभी किसी तरह से मैं देखूंगी, आपके पास बैठ के
Of course, we're going to release in theaters.
You are going to?
Yes. We are going to release in theaters at the end of October or
fantastic.
in November. Like we're still figuring out the date, like an exact weekend, but for sure, yeah.
And you've sent it to the censor board?
No, not yet. But we have to like lock our deal with the distributors, and then we'll do it. And I honestly, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about it, and all of those people have not seen the film. I really don't see why would it be a problem. But in Pakistan, anything can be a problem. Like the bar for controversial is so low.
Very low.
Anything can
Our
be controversial.
threshold for just anything, like
this interview is controversial. Why are you a girl driving, taking an interview with a guy who's wearing shorts, and why is your hair like this is also controversial. Anything can be controversial. So us tarah se I'm like, yeah, my work is very controversial. But if you look at it, I'm like, what's really so controversial? It's a family drama. It's a romance. Yes, it's a romance. The romance of it is a big part of the film, but it's not the whole film. And the romance does involve a trans character, a trans girl. And so what? Have not all of us not interacted with trans people? We have. Whether we've done it on streets or at workplaces or in shopping malls, we have. They're everywhere.
Right.
So what's your problem in suddenly seeing them in a film?
Right.
You see them every day on streets.
Because I completely get you.
Like it's like that. Of course, people will still call it controversial. And I'm like, I'm not talking about religion or anything. Like I'm not trying to go for things that are very not talked about or
untouchable.
Like trans issues or the film is not about trans issues at all. But having a trans character in an ensemble of characters is hardly me sort of attacking a taboo.
Right.
That's not the taboo that the film is attacking. Or like talking about. I think the controversial thing about the film is it's a film about desire. And that is something that everybody doesn't like to talk about, particularly in our society. That I'm quite excited about. That is something that I know will make people a little uncomfortable, will hopefully lead to a certain amount of, thinking and debate.
Right.
But the trans angle and all of this, I'm like, this is hardly controversial, and like, please, this is 2022. Come on.
I'm glad you're addressing it and bringing it. Like, there should be all kinds of stories. The thing is कि story पे limitation नहीं होनी चाहिए कि आप ये इसके बारे में लिख सकते हैं या दिखा सकते हैं और ये नहीं. I mean, that's I think it's criminal to stop people or it's not like आपके इतने literature में बहुत खुली बातें हो चुकी हैं और अभी भी हो रही हैं. So suddenly you think that cinema is the only thing that needs to be, ये movie नहीं हम चलाएंगे या ये content आप गलत दिखा रहे हैं, and that's
it's weird because it's like nobody's putting a gun to your head and saying कि आपको देखनी पड़ेगी ये जाके.
Right.
आपको नहीं देखनी, आप बेशक मत जाके देखें.
Right.
You will always have that choice.
Right.
And I will always have the choice of what I want to make. And you can choose between the 4 films that are out in theaters. You can choose which one you want to watch.
Right.
And like there is no element of force in or like a rule that you can set ke this is the kind of film that Pakistan should make or this is the kind of film that Pakistan should watch.
Right.
Because the film that Pakistan watches the most is Spider-Man. So we can't make it.
And also कितनी दफा सारे तो नहीं बना सकते.
सारे तो नहीं बना सकते ना. Spider-Man तो नहीं बनाएंगे. सारे मिलके भी वो एक Spider-Man नहीं बना सकते पाकिस्तान के. तो let people watch what they want to watch. People are going to watch Kamli still.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like who would have thought? It's a film that's still running even on Eid with the 2 big releases coming out.
Right.
Kamli still in theaters because there is a demand for it. Obviously, otherwise exhibitors would like the cinema owners would be like, हमने नहीं लगानी.
बिल्कुल.
So you don't know what the people want to watch, and people are not homogenous. What I want to watch is not necessarily what you would want to watch. So we should both be allowed to go into cinema number 3 and cinema number 4, watch the films that we like, and come back out and talk about those films.
And both of us should have access to the stories we want to watch.
Exactly.
अगर है ही एक लगी हुई Spider-Man ही इसमें लगी हुई
और वही कहानियाँ बताते जाएंगे फिर बार-बार.
Like
so that's not the point. I think like we're very confused as far as what we want our cinema to do.
Right.
But cinema is never supposed to do one thing. I think it's up to the individual who's making it.
Right.
And then you'll have 50 different kind of movies.
Right.
One will be purely entertainment based, like the kind of movies that we're having on Eid now. Good for them. You know, a lot of people should go and watch them. Those filmmakers should be making them.
Bilkul.
And then there will be films that are like mine, which I think are still very entertaining. But they're a little bit more serious, perhaps, in nature, in what they talk about. They take the craft of it a bit more seriously.
Right.
I would like to think. And then there might be, 50 other kind of movies, that all of them should exist. And honestly, people would watch them and would take different things from all of them.
Right.
Like Hollywood movies are not homogeneous thing that we kind of look up to, and कि Hollywood में ये होता है, Hollywood में वो होता है.
Right.
Avengers is Hollywood. Roma is also Hollywood.
Yeah.
Moonlight is also Hollywood.
Yep.
So like they're all different kind of movies, and they all exist, and that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. How much did you, since you went to school over there and studied filmmaking, but you had work experience here before you went?
I did.
So, how much of your knowledge or thinking did it change going to school there, learning the craft from there?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I think things that all you instinctually know certain things or believe in certain things, but you're too scared of, I don't know, following that impulse, or you don't know if that's the right impulse. You suddenly get a piece of knowledge that affirms that no, this instinct is correct because it's coming from there and this is what it'll do.
Right.
So, and just generally, I think like a sense of openness towards storytelling and what it should and shouldn't do. Like I also, when I went, I was very clear about what the point of movies is, like what movies should do.
You went with that mindset.
Movies ka point hota hai ki ye, like it should always. And I actually feel like in a funny way, coming out of film school made me more tolerant and accepting of the big films, the big entertaining films.
Right,
like today, I'm far more like I always enjoyed watching them earlier on, and then there was a phase when I went to school that I was like, what is this? Why are they making this shit?
इसमें क्या खास बात है? ये पैसे हैं
तो. This is so stupid. Why are they? These jokes are so lame. This song is so tackily shot.
Right.
Why are people going and watching this? And I was like, oh, I can never control that, and I should never control that. I should never have the authority to say, make this.
Right.
I should only have the authority to decide for myself. And just like that openness of saying that movies are the one thing that it's at the end of the day, there is an element of art in it. And of course, it's a very expensive art because it takes a lot of money to make the film.
Right.
But
the ticket is cheap to watch it, so as an audience.
Yeah, like I mean, if you go to Q Cinemas, it's still like 1,000 rupees, which I'm like, okay, so you're only catering to a certain
class of people.
But of course, you can go and watch it in Gulistan and stuff, and you probably, I don't know, 300, 350.
Yeah.
But I felt like I kind of let go of trying to define what movies are and what they should and shouldn't do, because everybody makes up their own point, and that's the point. That it's a way for me to connect with other people. You will know me as a person
through your
very
movie?
well after you watch Joyland.
Yeah.
You will know what I think. You will know how much compassion I have or don't have for what. You will know my biases. You will know what I'm judgmental about. If you want to know.
Why?
Like, there is a way of connection that you will build with me through my film, and I build with other people through their movies.
Right.
And why should anybody make the movies that I'm making?
Right.
Or vice versa.
So is your story for Joyland or even Darling, does it draw from your memories? Does it draw from things around you? Do you work like that? Your stories are more autobiographical?
I wouldn't say autobiographical, but like observational.
Because you've traveled, you've seen all kinds and all, I would say, सारे सूबों के लोग भी देखे हैं सबकी, you're well rounded that way.
That helps subconsciously, but consciously I think anything. Like I could be making notes right now, but because you can steal from people like that. Right. You can steal from people.
Absolutely.
You can steal from their habits, the way they speak.
Right.
Why they talk about one thing but not the other thing.
Right.
What their humor is like.
Right.
It's Eid tomorrow, and I'm gonna go and meet all my khalas and mamus and mummies, and it's quite exciting because I'm usually quiet in those
and observing
making notes. I literally make notes sometimes in my phone. because they say funny
something
shit.
something that you might forget later. You're like,
Yeah,
let me get this.
There's just a weird phrase that they've just come up with and don't even know that they came up with this golden phrase. It's like a punchline.
Oh my gosh.
So I make notes all the time. Like my phone is filled with notes. I was at a nikah ceremony. I was making notes there also. I don't know where I'll use them. But they always come in handy.
Right.
Like a lot of Joyland came out of these notes that I just constantly make, looking at people doing certain things, or like images of
right.
just
It helps
street
you
images.
build those characters and build that story.
A lot. So my writing is like completely observational based, as far as like characters are concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to write, Joyland? हमने बात वैसे की थी, but just as a
if you talk about the
like 7 years, you said, right?
Yeah, but like if you talk about the script that we shot, the first like version of it, which is still like feels like you read it, you'll be like, yeah, this is Joyland. It changed a bit, but it's was 3 years before the shooting.
ठीक है. And how much work?
Yeah, three and a half years before the shooting.
And constantly you're
and then I did like I think about 8 more drafts of that very script. 7 or 8 more drafts of that very script. Of course, I had a co-writer also eventually.
Right.
Maggie, she did 1.5, 2 of those drafts as well, like with me. And then but it takes a while.
And do you storyboard?
No, never.
It's not important?
It's too boring.
Yeah?
I find it very boring.
And does it take you away from the process? No? It kind of makes it like,
No, I go to the location and I spend hours at the locations we're going to shoot in. I take a lot of pictures. I go with my DP, I go with my production, and sometimes I took the actors there as well. Like the house that we were shooting in, I made sure all the actors see it before the shoot.
Right.
So we went and we spent a whole day there, and people were doing a camera test and all. It was not a shoot day, it was just we're going to hang out in this house. The whole family playing the family, Sarvat, Rasti, Ali, Salman, Pirzada, Suhail, Sameer, everybody, like the whole family. We went there, we did their look tests and stuff, and we just hung out there.
Just to kind of...
Yeah, we had
this is where we're going to be for the next...
Yeah, okay, stand here, Sarvat, you just try to make tea in the kitchen, and Sarvat's making tea, and we're just shooting her a little bit here and there, and she's getting accustomed to the house. So that stuff I feel is more important. For me to believe it, like once I believe that okay, these people are a family and they do live in this house, then it's more interesting to find the shot. Then we shortlist, but not like make it look exactly like this image.
Actually, you're not.
No, not in that sense. I think it takes away the fun.
So then, on the day of the shoot, when let's say in fact before that, when you go home, you look at the location photos. You've already done a recce with the actors. So already you've got some semblance that this is what I like. So because people want instruction from the director. They're like, camera kahan rakhna sir. Like
we have a shot list.
Yeah.
So we know exactly, we have a plan. Like when we were shooting Joyland, for every day we knew these are the scenes we're doing. This scene is 3 shots, this scene is just 1 shot, this scene, and most of the scenes were like 1 shot. So they knew that this was 1 shot. It was the camera was going to go from this door to that door, follow this character, then that character. So the basics we always knew. And a lot of like for at least 70% of the film, and the 30% that we hadn't shortlisted was like 2 people sleeping in a bed, talking to each other, that kind of scene. So I was like, okay, me and my DP know that's enough. Like what we want to do with those scenes, we know the rest of the crew doesn't need to know necessarily.
Right.
But no, we had a printed shortlist and everybody had that, and we did follow it through and through. Yeah. Within that, of course, you change a little bit,
Do you share everything with your actors though? Like, did you ever do something in a scene and hadn't informed them? Like kind of a surprise thing that maybe one of them doesn't know something.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah?
All the time.
And how do you do you warn anybody about anything? Can we just stay in character? Yeah. You let them...
No, I think they knew eventually, all of them knew. Like I think even after the rehearsal process, like the workshops, they knew that this would happen. And it wasn't like, suddenly somebody's going to like break a plate on your head or,
Right, nothing too jarring.
But it was like...
subtle things.
The way we worked was whatever direction I've given one actor, the other actor in the scene would never know. They would never. I would always whisper the directions and to one and whisper the directions. So neither of them know what has been told after the first take to each of them. So they're both coming in to do their own thing.
Right.
And then somewhere that clash that happens because of their unknownness, and and that's where sometimes a lot of the times actually the magic happened.
Right.
And again, because they were good actors, they knew.
Right.
That they were excited about not knowing and discovering it while the camera was rolling. Instead of like, अच्छा तो तुम ये करना, फिर मैं अपना हाथ यहाँ पे रखूंगी, फिर तुम इस तरह से पकड़ लेना और फिर हम निकल जाएंगे. It's like it's so boring and it's never truthful.
Right.
In that sense,
Right. And what was the toughest moment when you were filming Joyland? Toughest, like a blast to be like.
I think the scene where I was talking about where it was like Sarvat, Sohail and Ali, because it was a really tough scene. It was probably like in an obvious way one of the toughest scenes of the film. So it was quite tough. And then I think early on, I think it was the 4th or 5th day of the shoot, we were shooting, the film has 3 songs and one of them is like a big song.
Okay.
With like 300 extras.
Whoa.
And like a crew of 200, so it was like more than 500 people. And I, at that day, I was like, shit, I'm 30 years old and it's my first movie, and I like, and there was a crane and there was, I don't know, like the helicopter was the only thing we didn't have on that day. And it was inside a theater. So, and there was COVID scares. So of course everybody's wearing a mask and everybody's scared of getting COVID also.
Right. Lots of responsibility.
So it was really huge, and we had to, we shot, that was the only day we went really overtime, and we shot for like 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
And because we had to like really accomplish almost 2.5 days of work in one day, because we didn't, of course, that's the money that we had. We couldn't keep the extras for 3 days. We had gotten them for 1 day for that scene, for that. And
so you went.
Yeah, and it's like they're all.
But it was all indoors.
It was all indoors.
So chalo, at least the lighting and all of that.
It was curated, but again, cranes and jibs and all, like fancy equipment, like with the Pakistani crew, it can get very tricky. And dancers, and like it was a dance sequence, so there was a lot of choreography. And Alina's feet at the end of the day were like swollen.
Oh shit!
They were like this big, both her feet, because of course they've done standing. Yeah, and Ali also was like tired and exhausted, and the other boys too.
Right.
So it was tough. It was like one of the toughest days, I think.
The business side of it, that never came into being a difficult thing to manage because you had a good network of people around you.
For me?
Yeah.
No, I have to give credit to my producers, like Apurva and also Sarmad. Like, I never.
So you were just like, "मैं अब बस creative काम कर रहे हैं."
Yeah.
And all this rest
I'm
was.
not I don't know if you asked them, but I honestly am not the kind of person who would say, "Okay, bring this," like just ask for like unreasonable things, I wouldn't have that sort of an attitude. I always was aware that we're making a small film. It's not the smallest budget in the world, frankly. It's quite a decent budget that we got. But so I would engage with them. Like they would be like, "Oh, this is the amount of money, the X amount of money that you have for production design," and I would talk to Munya, like Kavala production designer, and she'd be like, "I wish I had like a couple more lakhs." And then I would be like, okay, like play middleman sometimes to just but it was very easy. It was never a tough thing, honestly speaking, because they did their job really well. What can I say? Like the producers, they just knew. Eventually, we saved some money out of the budget. I didn't know, but I really had everything that I asked for.
Right.
I got everything that I asked for on this film.
Dream team, man.
Yeah, like if I would say, and then there's a shot that got cut out of the film, but we were supposed to create a whole road filled with rose petals, because in a field, because that's what farmers do to make perfume. When they pluck off the roses, they throw the rose petals on the street to let them dry.
Right.
And there was like one shot that we wanted where these two girls are walking by that in the middle, in the morning, and the shot got cut out.
Oh god!
But I don't know. I don't know how many tons of
rose petals
were brought in trucks to fill that particular field with roses, and we got that shot.
Right.
And nobody ever said, "Okay, this is just one shot." It's like it's a 10-second scene. Why are you doing this? They were like, no, we will do it. And from
why'd you cut it?
Edit, it just like editing. We ended up cutting out a lot of things because that narrative flow worked better without them. But
you also edit, by the way, right?
I do.
So did you edit this yourself?
I did. I edited. I had a co-editor also. I had my friend Jasmine, who's from Brazil. So we edited online together. I was like, it was my hands, but both of our brains.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Zoom edit.
How did you now you wrote this, directed it, and it's painful to edit things out.
It is.
So,
it is painful.
Like, how much did you edit? A lot, ya nahi? Because you had been, shortlist proper.
Like the first proper cut of the film was like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Acha.
Yeah, and the film is 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Whoa.
So we ended up cutting about like 40 minutes.
Oh man.
Which was, I don't miss any of it. They were all good scenes. It was never that, we're cutting it out because the scene in itself was not good or anything. Very rarely. I think 1 or 2 were scenes that I was like, I never liked those scenes on set. We had to do them this way, but I'm not going to keep them. But mostly it was because sometimes you kind of rewrite in the edit. Not sometimes, always in a way. So there was some rewriting that was happening, a scene that was like supposed to happen an hour into the film is now happening 10 minutes into the film because it just makes sense there. So not a lot, but some of it to kind of just curate the dynamics of the family better than they were curated on the script level. You see more problems with your own work on the edit stage.
Right.
So you try to fix some of those, which you can fix some, you can't fix all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like, this is new to me, but I am thoroughly and eagerly waiting to make a film myself. And I wrote something. So मुझे पता है कि दिल ये चाह रहा होता है मेरा कि जिस तरह लिखा है ना उसी सीक्वेंस में शूट हो.
Right.
ताकि it just kind of you kind of edit अपने सामने वो चल रही है ना, film चल रही है.
Right.
But you can't do that.
No.
I mean, there are people.
To a certain extent, you can though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do with Joyland? Like, were you able to?
No.
काफी चीजें इकट्ठी रखी या नहीं?
There were a lot of locations, but the two prime, like, almost 60% of the film is in the house, and about 30% of the film is in the theater. And the 10% is like everywhere on the streets and subways, etc. So that, of course, we had to manage,
Separately,
but within the house and within the theater, I tried to keep it chronological.
Really?
It was never like 100% chronological because initially we started the theater. We said we're going to do the songs first because they're like, so of course we didn't shoot chronologically. We just shot 3 songs, 4 songs actually. One of them also got cut out.
Oh shit.
So we shot all because there were stage performances, all of them. So we shot all of them back to back. And then I was like, okay, now I need to. The actors have warmed up to each other, like everybody's kind of working properly now. Now let's go try to attack the theater like in a sequential way to a certain extent. Like the first time he goes to the theater, let's try to make sure it's one of the first 2 days.
Right.
The big scenes that happen towards the end of the film in the theater, those should happen in the last 2 days. Like at least those broad sort of categorizations you can do. In the house also. We try to do that as much as possible. Like the climax was the last couple of days. The whole ending was the last couple of days.
Right.
Not exactly. Like you can't say, okay, this scene number 67 will be shot after scene before 68, but you try to make it work as much as possible. And it helps tremendously.
Yeah?
I think it helps tremendously.
Tell me how.
Because it's the actors have, it's not that, of course, they always.
Hang on.
No.
ये भी होता है.
क्या होता है?
SD card speed is too slow. Confirm. And this is my podcast is like very cool. Just roll
I just
down a
realized we
bit.
could see ourselves there.
Yeah, go ahead, check it
Okay.
out.
Oh. Cool. I just want to see if I look fat. In the wrong places. And thin in the wrong places. But that's not a problem. All
What kind of a director are you?
I just realized I lit a
tough?
cigarette and my dad and my mom, my dad told me he had COVID a couple of days ago and he said, I saw all your interviews.
Do you want to put it
all
out?
of them? No. He knows I smoke. Sorry, Baba. Agar aap dekh rahe hain to it's okay. But I hope by this point he's turned it off because he's like, oh, they're talking too much about like craft and film and it's like boring. But what kind of a director am I?
Yeah. What do you think? Are you tough?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think I'm very nice.
Okay.
And I enjoy, and I realize that because all the advice that you get, like, I don't know, throughout life in general is like, you know, you have to be this person who will go, and you have to have a posture that commands respect.
Yeah.
And you have to be a serious person, and you have to raise your voice, make sure you raise your voice the first day of the shoot so that people respect you a little bit. And I'm just not that person, you know. And I was like, I can't do that, and I have a lot of like actual work that I need to do, so I'm not going to turn myself into a project also.
Right.
And I realized that, oh, I can find my own way of working,
navigating.
Yes, you know, because I know I was one of the youngest people on set, and I know the focus puller has been pulling focus for like, he's 60 years old,
right,
for like 40 years,
right,
and he's looking at me, and he is
looking
not
for,
seeing a director in the first day or the second day.
Acha.
Yeah, and I knew they're like a little unsure, and they will come around. I don't know, because I know that I can make this film and I can make this well. And 4-5 days later, I knew they all were starting to respect me, and they were starting to enjoy, and they were starting to. And it wasn't that I had to ask for it, or that I had to behave a certain way for me to look like a director. So I was, you know, I'm just genuinely, I enjoy being very empathetic. I enjoy taking care of my crew and my cast, and you know, like, because I think it's for me, it's part of the job.
Right.
Like,
it is.
A big part of the job of being a director is sometimes you're really sitting there and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Because the guy who's supposed to light is lighting. Actors are ready, they learn their lines. The costume person has done their job. What am I supposed to do? You know, now. So there's a lot of free time, and in that free time, you either think to come up with, you know, ideas for certain things, or you take care of people.
Right.
You go and you talk to them and you be there for them, because everybody's having a tough time. People are not sleeping well, not eating well, and you need like a father, mother kind of figure. And that I do think that is part of the job of being a director, to just take care of the people who are making the film with you.
Nice.
And I was happy when I finished the film. I was like, I think I did that. I don't know if the film is good or bad, but I think I took care of people.
Right.
I was nice to people.
Right.
And that's why they respect me. Not because I abuse them on and off, or because they're scared of me. Nobody was scared of me. And they didn't need to work. They need to be scared of me to work, you know.
Oh.
They can work because they believe in this.
Absolutely.
And because they want to make this film. And that's enough.
Right.
I don't need to be a monster, which is somehow, you know, often the case with directors. We're like,
is this something that you were told here? Yeah, also here or there, like Ehsan Khan. It's a running joke.
It's a vibe, you know. And I wondered myself, like, for example, a lot of my friends from Colombia who are female directors,
right?
They struggle with it far more, of course, because women directing on set, there's already a thing, oh, what will she do?
Yes.
Or what does she know?
Yep.
And they have to battle it 3 times over, if not more.
Right.
And they struggle with it, because sometimes they're like, oh, they wonder if they're supposed to be stricter than a man, or as strict as a man.
Right.
And
or as cool and chilled out, like
a man, you know, like if they're supposed to show the emotions that they usually like, you know, used to showing, if that can make a good director. And in my experience, again, I had the privilege of being a man, you know, but I do feel it worked out for me, and it works out if there's a story that the crew is kind of behind, and you're nice to them, and you're not an asshole, it's fine if you're like,
even if you're new.
Yeah, because
but you did face it.
Your own way.
But you did face it, like, as a new. They treated you like a newcomer, as a, you know.
Yeah.
But in a few days.
I knew, because Samad was on set, and Samad, of course, a director, you know, and he was a producer on this film.
Right.
So I knew that sometimes people would question initially first couple of days that they should ask me. They were asking Samad.
Right.
Not my department heads, because they'd been working with me for a while.
Right.
But like the focus puller, you know, who just came on set, or the light people.
Absolutely.
And so it took a while before they were like, oh no, the directing part, he knows.
Right.
He's just doing it in a different way.
Right. How did Sarmad handle it? Because I'm sure he must have been like, unse pooche.
No, he was, you know, like, of course, he's the producer of the film, so he was there to help.
Right.
So he would like assist in every which way possible, apart from doing his producer job. So it wasn't him. It was just the fact that. And I don't know, maybe for him also it was because I'm like kind of like graduated from Sarmat Kusad School of Filmmaking also in a way, because he was my first teacher and first boss.
Right.
So and now he was still kind of my boss because he was one of the producers and I was the director. So it was a very interesting dynamic because I'm very close friends with him. But he was there for the film in like every which way possible.
And do you guys have it's hard when you're working with friends also, by the way, right? Because then when you put your serious hat on and when you
it's very hard, honestly. Right? And I wouldn't say that I would recommend making putting too many friends together.
Oh no.
I think I had just the right amount. One more and it would have been trouble.
Then it would have been a party.
it was a party, or it's like
nothing would
shoots
get done.
are very intense and people get emotional. Especially for a 40-day shoot, everybody had a breakdown moment.
Oh my gosh.
And especially if it's a breakdown moment of an AD of mine who's only an AD, of course I'll be there for him or her, but to a certain extent.
Right.
But if it's also one of my best friends, of course I'll be there for him or her far more. I'll call them after the shoot also. I'll speak to them for 4 hours if need be.
Right.
And so you the taking care it kind of increases exponentially with the amount of friends that you have on set, especially if you're the director. And here I was, because I had brought in a DP from Lebanon. One of the producers is like an Indian coming from America. Sana is one of my best friends. Sama is one of my best friends. So it was the actors thankfully were I was not super close to any of them before the shoot. Now I am.
Oh no.
Which is great, but I wonder sometimes. I'm like, if I have to work with Ali or Asti or Sarbat, any of these people again, I'm very close to them now.
That's
so cool. how is that going to work out? But yeah.
So ये तो एक on set भी you've made new friends as well, right? With these actors and the crew. But in general, for instance, Simi Rahi connected you to Sarmad.
Right.
So how important and how can one get better at networking and making allies within the industry? Or just trust the process and it'll happen, but you must reach out, no?
I don't.
Achha.
Funnily enough, and maybe because I don't know, I feel like I've perhaps been lucky, where
for sure
been very lucky in terms of because I literally the only person that I had somehow gotten connected to. Simi Rahil attended a LUMS event, and I wasn't the organizer of that event. I asked the organizer, I was like, can you put me in touch with her? I have a script. I want to just try my hand at making this short film. I reached out to her. I went to her house. She didn't know me, but she's of course a lovely lady. I narrated to her. She's like, I'll do it. I was like, okay, great. We shot it.
Oh, but that's great. I mean, that is again because that's what I wanted to know.
So because I reached out to her. No, bilkul bhi nahi.
It was a family friend. It was
not just chit chat or network. I had a project.
Right.
So I asked the person who I thought could connect me to her for that specific project. And then I told her, I was like, I want an AD and I want to learn. So, and I want to, so let me know if you can put me in touch with Sarmad. And because I knew that she knows Sarmad.
Right. You've done enough homework to know.
Because she would talk about Sarmad because we'd spend time with Simi Auntie. And then I got close to Simi Auntie while the shooting of the film happened, So she was very nice and motherly and to me. And then I met Sarmad once, and that was in 2013 also. And nothing happened. I went to him with a script actually initially, and I was like, I would like you to direct this or whatever, it's a telefilm. And it never happened.
Right.
A year later, I reached out to him again, and I was like, if you're ever looking for an AD, I'm graduating now from LUMS, so I would like to. And I think 3 months after that, in October, he called me and he said, okay, I'm making something. More Mary was making with Gio, and if you want to come and interview. I went, I interviewed, I got the gig. And I was there, and then through that process, I became friends with Sarmad and Nadia.
Afghan.
Yeah, so and very close friends with Nadia and Sarmad both. So I would never know Nadia if I hadn't worked with her.
Right.
I would never go up to her at a party and chit chat with her for the sake of networking. That's just not something that I can do. It doesn't come naturally to me.
Right.
So I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
This gives great hope to everybody else because mostly people when they look at a director or a person who has now achieved something, तो उन्हें लगता है कि of course he was born into this, तो silver platter है, or
I had a certain amount of privilege because of my family being comfortable,
right?
But not in terms of film, like background or any context, zero.
Right. तो वही मैं भी सोचती हूँ, और मुझसे भी जिस तरह अक्सर पूछते हैं, okay, like they get into the self doubt वाली एक rabbit hole में, कि they start with things like मेरे पास equipment काफ़ी नहीं है, मेरे पास I don't know the right people, मैंने किसी को मैसेज किया, उन्होंने जवाब नहीं दिया. तो मैं यही चाह रही थी कि for you to elaborate, and which you have already, कि when an opportunity comes to you where you can, or you come across somebody who is from the industry, then reach out to them yourself, gently, politely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
For work, if you're looking to work on a project as a crew member.
Right.
If you're only looking to make your film, then honestly, all you need to do is write a script. Finish it, make sure it's good.
Right.
And of course, good is a subjective word. Just make sure you are like happy enough with it, where you're comfortable sharing it with people.
Right.
And honestly speaking, like, people here are actors, producers, everybody is hungry enough these days to make films, that if you go, first couple of people, if they like it, they will do it.
You think it's a good time right now?
I think so. It's much better than it's been in a long time. Of course, after coming back from COVID, you have big films coming out, small films coming out, medium budget films coming out. Like there is a spectrum of variety. They all seem to be doing well enough for the phase that we're in. So I think it's our actors are working abroad. Right. So there is enough happening for us to believe that okay, this industry is going somewhere, which is honestly not a lot, not what you can say about a lot of other industries,
right?
In terms of businesses,
right.
But the film industry seems to be
thriving
in a certain way, like
right.
it seems
growing.
To be growing. Yeah. It's going places,
right?
Nimra Butcher is in Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
It's not a small thing.
It's not.
And then Fawad and Mehwish are also in Marvel. It's also directed by Sharmeen.
Right.
Sameen Ahmed is there. So there's like a gang of Pakistanis doing a Disney Plus Marvel show.
Absolutely.
That's not a small thing at all.
It isn't.
There are films going to festivals. There's films, making 2, 3, 4 films are happening every Eid. Right. Doing good business.
Right.
These are all
signs.
Great signs of like a flourishing industry.
Right.
If but it needs more people. It certainly needs all the people who are worried and thinking about joining the industry and don't know where to start. Trust me, you're needed.
Yeah, your story needs to be heard.
Yeah, you're needed. You're like just really needed to kind of fulfill the demand that's going to increase over time.
Right.
And is already increasing. So it's both ways. You need the industry, but the industry needs you too.
Amazing.
For sure.
And how does one? Because मुझे पता है यहाँ पर organization नहीं है ऐसी कि you can call and say हाँ ये production ये कोई studio है. So how? अब सरमद का आपने नाम लिख दिया ना, I'm sure people are gonna line up over there.
People already do.
Right.
And he works with them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if Lahore, of course, is not the hub, I'm glad. I think Sarmad is the only kind of production house that's here that has now made 3 films.
Right.
Kamli, Joyland, and Tamasha, and a lot of television work.
Right.
So for sure, I think if somebody takes a script to Sarmad and he likes it, I'm sure he'll be willing to sort of try and raise money for it. It's not a production house that can give you money. It's not like he's not a financier.
Right.
But he has resources and stuff. So if he likes something, that he will say. If he doesn't like it, it's not his taste. He'll be like, sorry, not for me. But I can put you in touch with, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hum or ARY or Geo or all sorts of other. There's a whole industry. The real industries in Karachi. Which frankly I also don't know anything about. I'm not a part of, I'm not integrated with that arm of the industry, which is the bigger arm, the more commercial one.
Right.
Arm. Yeah.
And at your university, going back to Columbia वाली बातें, कि आपको वहाँ पर they trained you, and you've now, as their alumni, you won awards with your films. How proud are they? I know they posted stuff.
Very.
Right. And वहाँ से हर वक्त यानी Like, do they say that, come back here, let's connect you to people here in the US?
I mean, I'm not the first person from the school to
That,
of course.
Of
So
course.
they like a lot of alumni have gone to Cannes,
Right.
and won stuff, have won Oscars or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So,
but opportunities,
but they, of course, they're like very like there was talk of like, oh, when is it going to release in New York? Because I know like the whole school, whoever is, of course, the school is not, the students there don't know me right now because they're all new students.
Right.
But my teachers, I'm still like, I still WhatsApp with them, and I'm still in touch with them, and they're like my friends.
Right.
A lot of them, not just one or two, like a lot of them, I'm like actually close with them.
Right.
And they're like, they were a part of the making of the film in some way, and they're a part of like the success of it all in many ways. Because, so they're like very forthcoming, like, oh, when are we gonna have a screening at Columbia? Like, because there's a thing where we screen like alumni films and stuff. So I am hoping to do that at some point in the fall this
Inshallah.
year. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, very, very, very nice.
That would be heartwarming.
Since the pandemic, I haven't been to New York or Columbia, of course.
Okay, let me rephrase the question for you. Has winning the Cannes Award opened any doors for you in Pakistan?
No.
And were you expecting it to?
No, I was not expecting it.
Okay.
Also, because I knew that from my short. Of course, it was not the same amount of buzz, or not the same thing, because it was a short film. And it was in Cannes. People get crazier about Cannes for some reason everywhere in the world. There's more glamour. It's a showy festival and all. But I was not expecting it, to be honest. I mean, maybe it will. It's also too soon. Maybe it will open some doors. But if I'm expecting like, Humayun Saeed will call me and say, I want you to do my next movie, I knew that that's not going to happen, and it will never happen.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine with me.
Right.
I don't need that to happen.
Right. So was this film and the goal to take it to Cannes, was it a planned thing? That yes, this is a festival film?
No, I don't think it's a festival film. That's why I'm like, all my energy these days is in
distributing
distributing the film in different countries, including particularly in Pakistan.
Right.
Like, that's the dream.
Inshallah.
Like, I particularly would hate it if it turns out to be just a film that's screened at festivals and people here never got to watch it.
Right.
So
this was just something that you guys thought?
This is something that helped us a lot.
Right.
It helps
to get
if
eyeballs.
You're a first filmmaker with like not too many big, stars. It's not a very commercial looking film.
Right.
So this kind of buzz, of course, helps it, because now a significant amount of people, I would believe, would show up to actually watch it.
Right.
Versus if we didn't have this whole Cannes buzz, I don't know how many people would watch it. Like, it would rely on a word of mouth, etc. So now there is some buzz for it to just not be only like a film that came and disappeared and nobody ever heard of it.
Right.
It helps, but no, that the aim was always to release it in theaters, and
And what about do you think, or do you like the streaming platforms, or do you like the theatrical release more?
I like theatrical. For my own films, I like theatrical. I think there is nothing that compares to watching a film in a theater. It's just a different experience, particularly now, but like. Including me, the way we watch stuff on streaming is frankly, that's why they've also
disrespectful.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And also, of course, the makers know that. So now they started making, frankly, like a lot of stuff on Netflix is bullshit. It's so bad. It's as bad as some of the television programs that we make fun of. Our TV, it's like slightly better produced, that's all.
Right.
But like the storytelling, it's like, it's so cliched, it's so conventional, formulaic. And it's like, of course, because they know that, this just has to be fast paced, and there has to have a cliffhanger at the end of the first episode and every episode, and that's it, because people are gonna be on their phone, answer the door, order food.
It's almost
all of this is gonna happen while the show is playing.
Right. So it's almost like they know, let's get and put out disposable content. Right?
Yeah, it is disposable. It's like
you hardly remember a show that you've seen.
Very
rare.
2 or 3 a year, and certainly not on the. HBO shows are all great, of course.
Right.
But certainly not like Netflix stuff became unbearable to watch.
Right.
Like, everything looked the same, was the same. like down to the cliches of having a hijabi character in
हाँ
every
हाँ
show,
वो
and I'm like, this is
inclusivity के
also very
उसमें
boring.
yeah
Please don't do this,
right
because it's like you're putting her here because you think it kind of fits the formula of being woke and liberal,
yeah
and it's annoying.
yeah
No, so I do think like theatrical experience teaches you, and like as an experience is just a much more personal connection that you make with the material. Funnily enough, even though it's a public viewing.
yeah
You
yeah
know,
the community
it's
together as a
community viewing.
group
And like the just as a filmmaker, because I got the had the privilege of watching it in a 1,500 seater theater at Cannes. When people laugh at the same joke at the same time, like the whole theater laughs, it's just, as a filmmaker, the most gratifying, exciting thing. Like the song that I was telling you, which was like the toughest day of shoot.
Right.
When we were screening at Cannes, people started clapping in the middle of the song because of the video, because it's like a moment of triumph of some sort. And like the theater, like 4 or 5 people clapped, and then everybody joined in, and they were clapping, and I was like, I've never seen this happen. Like people are clapping in the middle of a film.
Oh my god!
It was the most beautiful thing. If it had went to streaming only, I would never know.
Right.
And I would never get
that kind of response.
Yeah, then I'll have to go on social media and read the trolls talking about it to understand what they think of my movie. But now I can just go to a theater, sit and watch it with an audience, and I'll know, because you know how people are responding to it. Like in the last half, everybody was like dead quiet and getting uncomfortable, but nobody was moving. I could hear sniffles, and I was like, okay, I understand that the scene is working. You know, people are crying. Like there's here. I can see a bunch of people crying. I can hear them. Right. And so that gauge, that pulse of an audience, you can only get from a theater. Because if otherwise, like, if you start scrolling on social media, please, like, I will die. You know what I mean? Like they say such horrible shit, which is funny most of the times. But if you're actually looking for critique of your film from an audience, that's not the way I do it.
So, agar somebody offers you for a Netflix streaming opportunity or any
I would, but OTT, I would ask
but
them
afterwards, right? You would kind of have a mix of theatrical releases and then
eventually, of course, it should rest on, like, you know, rest in peace on some streaming platform, so that people it can live on. Right. For that, I think streaming platforms are great, because not everybody is going to be able to watch it in a 2-3 months that it's in theaters in any given country. So that is great, but like just having that experience as the only one, no.
Because I think it all, you know, good content, even bad, it gets lost in the millions of things.
Who's going to know
Netflix?
To search for this small Pakistani film? You know, so if there's somebody sitting in Belgium, for example, who's going to search for Joyland? They're not. You're not going to put it on the homepage. You're going to put the film with, I don't know, Gal Gadot on the homepage, and Alia Bhatt, and that's it. So somebody like me doesn't stand a chance on Netflix to actually get seen. Yeah, I'll make it to Netflix, but uska maine kya karna hai? You know, I probably
you'll be in the library.
Yeah, but I'll be in the library. Like, I don't care about that. I want people to watch it.
Right.
So until the day they put me on the, which will take a very long time if at all. It's not, because it's not feasible for small films to only go to streaming platforms, because nobody watches them. Very few people do.
Because लोगों की अब वो बन गई है ना, like at least until people understood it, because I think अब तो awareness इस बारे में आ रही है और आ भी चुकी है filmmakers को कि Netflix या ये, you know, when you get an opportunity, it's not really the end all. That is not your goal, and it doesn't serve the purpose you actually want, you know, which is for the world to see in a grand way.
Yeah.
तो वो अब नहीं कर रहे, लेकिन पहले
out. Netflix is not like something to aspire to at all anymore, because
not
Netflix
anymore.
is happening like it's going down.
Right.
Their subscribers are going. They're not buying movies anymore. Like they're going through like a terrible period. So like don't be on Netflix is the new one instead of be on Netflix.
Exactly. Because पहले तो ये एकदम hype हो गई थी ना कि हाँ, you know,
हमारा
Netflix पे आ जाएगा या आना है, and at one point perhaps. But also, it's not like mass reach नहीं है, वो फिर भी basically your own Pakistani community living abroad, and yes, your Pakistani in Pakistan subscribers, you know, जो हैं बस over that, they're not that much.
They're not a lot. I mean, of course, if I put it in a theater, of course, it's not like everybody's gonna go watch the whole country. I know that.
Right.
But at least it rests in Pakistani theaters for a while.
Right.
It could.
Right.
There's a potential of it kind of, people going back, telling their friends and their family, and them going and watching it. Like, it has that potential. Versus on Netflix, if there's only like, I don't know, a couple of, 100,000 or some, like, couple 100,000 people who are subscribed to Netflix.
Yeah.
It's, and especially when you go on Netflix, do you want to watch Joyland or do you want to watch, I don't know, RRR? Of course, even I would click on RRR, you know what I mean? Because it's more fun. You're on Saturday night, you want to watch a film with your family and stuff. So a film like Joyland, you have to kind of seek out, and like in a theater, that kind of curates that experience for you better than on streaming, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is cinema to you?
For me, personally, it's a way of making sense of the world and my existence in this world. Personally, that's my way of waking up and not like looking at the news, looking at the world, just being confused. Okay, why are we all here? What's happening exactly? Everybody's suffering. Why? And then you think about making a movie, and then you're like, okay, I can
channel my
process
emotions.
that.
Yeah.
I can process that or any other feelings or thoughts that I may be having through this medium, through a story. Some of my demons will get calmed down and resolved, hopefully, in the making of every film. Like with Joyland, it did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Joyland made me a less judgmental person.
Wow.
The making of the film, even though the story was a story, I was telling the story of, like, I don't want to say, but the making of the film, and particularly now that the film is out of my system, I'm actually like a slightly calmer person.
Wow.
I have more patience for people, even whether they're like super conservative. Even I can talk to them, and I don't judge them so much. There was a point in time where I was like, I can't talk to these people. I would call them bigots, and I would be like, this is not on. Like, again, conservatism and I had like a big divide,
right.
And a lot of my family is conservative, but I think I got the patience and tolerance through the making of this film to be like, oh, I've made this film, I can't possibly be that person anymore, and it just organically happened to me. So I think like some of my issues got resolved. I don't go to therapy, I make movies.
मुझे उस दिन वो फरहान सईद का मैं इसी तरह सेशन कर रहे थे, and he said it when he plays music, the actor
and the musician,
and the musician. So he's like, when I play music, that heals me.
Yeah.
So I think that is true. We go into our own craft and kind of find peace and calm down through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's why I think it's just our country having sort of, restoring its relationship with art.
Yeah.
Any kind of art, whatever it is, is the only way for me, for our people to be chiller, for our people to calm down. Yeah. Because it's not like we can control the price of petrol or the dollar. We can't do any of that stuff. We can't control our politicians also, even if we think we can. We can't.
Right.
What we can control is the way we deal with it and the way we exist with each other.
Right.
And I think it's like somewhere this lack of tolerance in people around you, which bothers me far more than our political situation, is because of our sort of disconnect with art that has happened. Like, like really, we had poets, we had musicians, of course we still do, but musicians also today are very niche. Like the big sensations also, like, music that I listen to, like, I don't know if the guy on the bike is listening to Natasha Noorani. He's not. You know what I mean? She's lovely. She's great. She's my friend. But so, like, kind of mainstreaming that kind of thing that, oh, I get to listen to Natasha, but what does he get to listen to?
Right.
You should have somebody to listen to, somebody Pakistani who's speaking his language, but who's still artistically inclined.
Absolutely.
There's still poor things going back to Reshma ji and, Abda Parveen, and I don't know. Atif Aslam sometimes makes a song, and probably they... Like the access to art and the creation of art has become such a It's a rare thing in our country. It's a relationship that I hope we restore for everyone.
Right.
I think it just makes you calmer and nicer.
It does, and through different artists and through different storytellers, I think वो diversity जब आएगी ना, in the content that we are like क्या लफ्ज़ होता है यार, that we are नहीं जो हम देख रहे हैं consuming so when we consume diverse content, that's only when I think we will become tolerant कि अच्छा हाँ यार ये देखा था मैं, हाँ ये भी तो होता है,
ऐसे भी लोग हैं,
because
and it's okay, मैं ऐसा नहीं हूँ,
हाँ,
but ये हैं ऐसी,
और इसकी फैमिली ने या इसके दोस्तों ने इस तरह डील किया था, which is a way. जरूरी नहीं है कि हम उसे गोली मारे, ठीक है, ये इस तरह रह सकते हैं और हम भी रह सकते हैं,
बिल्कुल
we can coexist.
Just the idea that there are different, that we do not need to be homogeneous,
right,
is something that I don't know how to explain that to anyone or nobody can except through art.
Absolutely.
हमारा नेशन क्या है, पाकिस्तानी का क्या मतलब है, like there's no one thing, there's no one answer to these questions that you keep searching for,
and it shouldn't be, it never
because
is.
It can never be. Pakistan can name 25 crore different things because that's how many people we have,
right,
and that can be the beauty of our country or in general, but it was just so far removed from that thought. I don't know, like you get shit for saying that shit also.
आपको क्या पता,
आप तो बाहर से आए हैं पढ़ के, आप तो लिबरल, आप एजेंडा के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं and all. It's very funny all of this,
Oh man, I also I hate being क्या कहते हैं, minimalized like that, because you, as somebody who's gone abroad and studied, what a lovely area this is, by the way. Should sit under a tree.
It is quite beautiful, yeah.
Especially today.
Yeah.
On a day like today.
And rain out, yeah.
But अगर कोई बाहर से आया, like my husband, his family moved to the US when he was like 13, 14. So he's come back to Pakistan after marrying me, after like 25 years.
Of living there.
Yeah.
Right.
Of living in New York. So we'll talk about that later. But I'm just saying, even उसको जैसे ना feel होता है कि at work or whoever he mingles with, sir आप तो बाहर से हैं, यहाँ तो ऐसी है, and he gets so frustrated with that. It's like, but it doesn't have to be, and I'm just giving you another point of view, and I'm showing you another way of doing something, and you don't just disregard it by saying यहाँ ये नहीं. He's like, मैं भी यही हूँ, और मैं एक बाहर की अगर कोई टेक्निक या कोई बात कह रहा हूँ तुम्हें, which is good, तो उसे क्या सुन लो,
बस सुन लो, बेशक ना करना,
सुन तो लो,
नहीं, that's the thing, सुनना ही नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर सुन लिया तो फिर वो danger, then it's dangerous, कि ये dangerous बात कर रहे हैं लोग, ये बहुत dangerous बात है, and it's like, बात है, how can it be dangerous, you know what I mean, like, but we live in a society where everybody believes that thoughts and ideas can be very dangerous.
हाँ ना, आप ये बात करेंगे तो काला डाला आ जाएगा बाहर,
and it's like, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, आप आगे से एक और बात कर रहे हैं, you can counter me, but you can't just say कि ये बहुत dangerous बात है,
लेकिन खैर
क्या ही कर सकते हैं, but
चलें आपके घर वापस. Have we missed a turn?
I'm horrible with navigation, but I think we have to take a U-turn, yeah.
ठीक है.
Take a U-turn.
Or plug in something.
Plug in something.
If you want, you're going to talk about
guys,
something.
Please go and watch Joyland in a theater. It will release, hopefully. I will announce when it releases. We don't have a release date exact yet, but this winter, early winter, in a theater near you, please. I will plug in my own film. And Kamli's playing right now. Please go watch it. If you're going out for Eid and you don't, you haven't seen it yet, or you don't get tickets for Punjab Nahi Jaungi, you can watch Kamli again. It's a beautiful film.
London Nahi Jaunga.
Sorry. Oh. Yeah, London. Watch that also. Fine, but watch other films also. And yeah, that's it. What else?
That's fine.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, do you know how to say that?
Don't have to.
We're good.
हम उसको